Katagiri Yuichi, a second-year high school student, is poor, lives alone, and works part-time to pay for his studies and living expenses. He currently has a very close group of friends, and they are more important to him than money. His group of friends is diverse, including rich, poor, short, tall, two eyes, and beautiful. The richest in the group, but somewhat brainless, is Makoto, the two-eyed genius Mikasa, the short mushroom Kokoro Gizori, and finally the class president Sakazashio. Currently, the whole class has discussed and decided to go on a field trip. Everything seemed to be going smoothly, but suddenly the homeroom teacher delivered shocking news. 2 million yen in class funds for the field trip had been stolen. According to Serho, who was in charge of the class fund, she put the money in a locker during the 5th period. Although she locked it, the money disappeared within minutes. She cried and begged whoever had it to return it. That was just a useless statement, and that's why the next day neither of them went to school. Everyone in the class kept blaming them, saying they were the ones who stole something the night before. While Dewey was folding flowers to earn a living the next day, someone left a letter at his door. It was from Shiho, asking him to wait for him at the school gate at 11 o'clock that night. Without further ado, he got dressed and immediately rushed there. When he arrived, he saw his whole group of friends gathered there. Things became even more confusing when all 4 of his friends received a letter with his name on it. After looking at the paper for a while, he realized the whole group had been ambushed. At that moment, he was ambushed from behind with an electric shock device. His whole group of friends were captured. He woke up in a room with 4 white walls. When everyone else had woken up, a mascot appeared. It was Manabu, a character from old anime series. Cute but ruthless to anyone who dared to touch him. "You're so arrogant and you steal children's treasures." Menu is here to inform the group that everyone will have to play games with him. The reward for completing each game is 2 million yen, and there are other challenges in each game that everyone must overcome to pay off a debt of 20 million yen. Upon hearing this, the whole group fell silent. 20 million yen? I'm at home, all I know is arranging flowers and selling them, and I got electrocuted. You brought me here, and now you're in debt of 20 million yen? Jochi couldn't accept this, and rushed to Managua to ask for an explanation. Managua calmly replied, "I'm not in debt like those other guys, but I am. What's your name?" Then he asked Menu, and he understood the situation. He concluded that Menu was a fraud. Even if they were in debt, Menu couldn't escape the crime of kidnapping and detaining Managua. Managua was a criminal, but Managua said, "You guys want to play and then you call me a fraud? What nonsense." He had already received a participation fee of 10% of the 20 million yen debt, which was 2 million yen. That amount of money is exactly the class's picnic budget, and if everyone refuses to participate now, they'll go home empty-handed with a special belt. Even more importantly, anyone who owes 20 million yen has to pay for everything themselves. Now, if you agree to participate, the debt will be divided equally among 5 people, totaling 4 million yen. If you keep losing, the whole group has to pay the debt themselves. Now, I'm wondering which bridge to jump off tonight, or if going all in is better than nothing. After a while, we decided on the first game, the Gucci Corner. Each person will receive a nameplate with their name and debt amount written on it, and no one is allowed to see it because doing so will double the debt. The game is to place your hand on a coin and move it to the answer you think is correct. For example, the question is, "Ad is very handsome, right?" If everyone thinks yes, the girls will read the answer and move the coin to the correct spot, confirming that it's the correct answer, but only for 5 people. If one person chooses no, the zones will prioritize the minority and move to the empty space. And so the whole group got the question wrong. If the whole group answered the question correctly, they would get a 400,000 yen reduction, but they could only speak when the question was read aloud. Breaking the rules doubles the debt for each incorrect answer. When the game ends, the person with the most debt gets rid of all the others' debts. The game starts with questions read aloud that even a child could answer, but when the coin moves, the answers are all pushed to the wrong answer. This shows that there is a traitor among the members who wants others to take on all the debt for them. This makes Duchi lose trust in everyone. When it comes to his answer, the question is self-generated by the reader. Below, there's a small note that if the coin moves correctly, the game is won, but if it moves to no, the player will have their debt halved. He realizes they intentionally chose no to halve their debt without ending the game. If he decides to end the game now, he will only have his debt reduced. 400,000 yen. Others managed to reduce their debt by 2,400,000 yen. He decided to choose no, but then remembered that the last person was Rotozi, someone who was often bullied, and only considered him a true friend. Even though he decided to choose the correct answer to end the game, things didn't stop there. When he answered correctly, the coin moved towards 0. Another thought crossed his mind. Someone was trying to push all the debt away from Toshi and settle the money in one game. But he realized that if question number 5 was similar, the debt would be equal again. He knew question number 5 was different. It wouldn't have a debt reduction condition. It was just a normal true-false question. The question Toshi asked was, will we always be friends? This was a double-edged sword for the group. If they chose correctly, everyone would move on to the next round with the debt. But if they lost, the debt would fall on Ritoshi, and everyone else would. Returning without debt, but simultaneously with the breakdown of their friendship, Yuichi knew the answer this time would definitely be no. He decided to speak up to double his debt in episode 2. Currently, he has the most debt, and if he fails this game, the trader will lose badly. He told everyone that the rules had changed. The person with the least debt would be the one to receive the punishment. This was just a trick, but it gave the trader a headache, thinking, what if I keep telling the truth? I'll be doomed. So the whole group answered correct. After everyone moved on to the next game, although Chi asked to stay behind to tie his shoelaces, his purpose was to see the questions on the paper. But things weren't that easy, as the papers used special ink, so the writing would disappear after a certain period of time. At this point, someone called out, wanting to ask him who he suspected most among the group. But he answered coldly, it's her. Because in the White Room, she had said now wasn't the time to find out who was in debt. And Siho, you know you'll never forgive the person who stole the class fund to buy the whole group's money. Siho didn't hide anything either. She thought you were the one who stole the class fund because you're poor. I'll hit you on the head, Siho. But that wasn't the case. The reason she suspected you of stealing was because she liked you. This reason was real. The second game, called Sugaruku, was very simple. Each member would go into a room to write a letter bad-mouthing someone in the group, then put it in a box. Votes would be collected and read. After reading all the bad-mouthing, viewers watching on screen would vote. The player with the highest number of votes would advance 5 steps. The game would be over if one person reached the finish line, but anyone still on the way would receive an extra 1 million and get to go home to rest. Players who left blank votes would advance 1 step. Everyone thought this game was easy, thinking that just leaving blank votes would allow everyone to easily pass. It seemed easy, but it wasn't that simple. When everyone cast a vote against and stepped onto a square, each person would lose 100,000 yen. Stepping onto another square without gossiping would result in a further loss of 500,000 yen. With no other options, everyone decided to expose their friends' secrets. For example, Siho had dated Kenji, and just the first sentence was enough to shatter Kenji's friendship with Siho due to jealousy. Next, Siho showered with his mother until the end of middle school. This guy was truly a hero. He maintained this by not showering for a week. And Siho had plastic surgery. In the third round, there was a gossip that caused a multiplier. Zoto Dewey had been a sugar baby in middle school. This shattered Zoto Dewey's friendship from that moment on, because of this secret. She only told her friends, and asked them to let her know. Ms. Bach recounted this for fun, saying that back in middle school, she was constantly bullied by her classmates. They harassed her relentlessly, and because she didn't want to cause trouble for her family, she endured it all, and one day she found a way to get rid of their harassment, giving them money. But the allowance wasn't enough, so she decided to become a sugar baby. She said she hadn't crossed her line yet, but nobody cared. Yuichi didn't really care about those things. Only a few secrets had been revealed, and now the whole group was in trouble. All of this was caused by someone secretly plotting against her. Going back to the past, before the class fund was lost, during a self-study session, she asked to prepare to take the money to the teacher's office. At that moment, a classmate came and told her that Mr. Matsuda was calling to the multi-purpose room. It was the opposite of her route to the teacher's office, and carrying the money like that wasn't safe, so she put the money in her locker and locked it securely. Meanwhile, Cyber was sleeping and borrowing a notebook. Someone slowly walked towards the locker. Just then, despite their size, they were walking past and got intimate. As she looked up to apologize, he had already taken the money. He secretly took the money, his face accidentally scratched and bleeding from the girl's pen. Returning to the present, Cyber was left with no energy knowing that the girl he liked, Shiho, had undergone plastic surgery. It was actually just a scar from middle school that she had removed, a secret known only to one person. But not only that, he knew everything, and that person was none other than the bespectacled guy. He knew where Shiho kept her locker key, and even overheard their conversations. But would anyone discover his schemes? Or would this bespectacled guy ruin everyone in the group? In episode 4, Tenji had successfully destroyed Shiho and Zutozi's friendship. After it was Gigi's turn, he started thinking that he was falling behind and that they would likely suspect him. He wondered why no one was badmouthing him, so he decided to badmouth himself. Just as he opened the door, Shiho and her taxi arrived, and Shiho was there. Thinking that Dutoshi had been badmouthing himself to maintain his position, and not forgetting to mention that she hadn't had surgery, but only had her scars removed, Kenzie's life was filled with renewed energy after hearing this. The friendship between the three of them was already on the verge of a perfect turn for Kenzie. With everyone else stepping up, she had received a special opportunity. She would choose anyone, and that person's secrets would be exposed. Whatever name Shiho chose, everything would end there, and he would get a dermatology ticket. The person she chose was none other than Tenzi, who had been encouraging her all this time. But just as she was about to choose, Shiba ran in, wanting her to choose him. After hearing her say she hadn't had surgery, he wanted to redeem himself by showing his trust in her. He was confident that he hadn't hidden anything. He was overly confident. He wasn't without secrets. He had many. His father was a prosecutor who often investigated bribery, abuse, and harassment of secretaries, and he had, using money to cover up all the scandals, supposedly caused by his father, directly affects him because he'll be branded the son of a criminal, and no one will want to befriend him. When someone tries to encourage him, they immediately stop him and advise him to keep his distance. So, Cyber goes from being on top to being on the bottom. Then, there's a defamatory note claiming Cyber is a murderer. He immediately loses his heart because he didn't write it. He initially intended to end Cyber's life, but things have gone too far, so he cast a vote against it. The writer is none other than the guy who's been hiding all this time, even though in episode 5 he tried to tell Manabu that he didn't kill anyone. But who would believe that? Manabu tells him to prove it, but how can he prove it when all his past crimes have been covered up by his father's money? Another way is to find the writer. That will surely change things. But at this point, Manabu changes his mind and asks the audience for their opinion. Do you trust me? No one believes Sieb's belt. He immediately jumps to the U-22 and takes the lead. Now our protagonist will mend things and find the traitor. He already knows who the traitor is, and he's found a way to win this game. Now, once the leader comes out, everyone will badmouth themselves. If the traitor breaks the rules and badmouths Sieb, everyone else will advance except the traitor, because with his method, the traitor won't be able to do anything. He knows this method isn't perfect, but at least it can stop hurting each other. Everyone agrees, but Dewey objects. What's Dewey's name? Dewey asks. If you know who the traitor is, tell them their ID so everyone can put them in the lead, and the game ends. If this round is wasted and the plan fails, you have to tell Dewey who the traitor is. And if you just say it without evidence, no one will believe you. When writing on the slip of paper to badmouth someone, 4 slips were reported. And if it wasn't true, we would know who didn't know. But things weren't that simple when the menu brought out 10 slips. Your plan is really good, but look at the rules of the game. You can say as much as you like. At this point, when someone came to Duchi's place and asked him to reveal the traitor, he only apologized and said he was lying. Then, very strangely, he left. He said their friendship had been destroyed and he would protect her. Everyone then continued the game, but no one said a word until they were only 1 square away from the finish line. When they reached the finish line, they just had to jump down. Don't worry, you won't die, just break your leg. Young Penji tried to comfort and encourage her every second, thinking he had won, but he didn't know this was a trap. At this moment, he had a good idea, because he had just thought of a way to make the traitor reveal himself. Because the rules of the game stated that if lying was detected, there would be a penalty, and this rule combined with the self-defense method, the bad-mouthing earlier, everyone hasn't mentioned the betrayal yet. The next round is the final round of bad-mouthing, so everyone will write their name on the slip and write the same thing. That will only be the traitor's name. That's the sentence. I am the one who registered to participate in the friendship game because I betrayed everyone's friendship, so I must be the traitor. Now, everyone just needs to write their name on the slip. Then, everyone will be punished except for one person who wrote the truth. Everyone else will finish except the traitor. You want true friends to finish together and cooperate in the next games, rather than letting this chaos continue. Someone in the room couldn't have predicted this. So now you have to act out a dramatic cry when everyone knows you're the traitor. But when Manabu closes the slip, only one slip is filled in. The rest are blank, and that slip belongs to Kanji. You're officially exposed. Without hesitation, you'll start crying, but it won't win anyone over. Who was it that tried to destroy everyone's friendship in episode 6? For Yuichi, the traitor was trapped from the start, with the first bad comment, Shiho dating someone. From that moment, he and Shiho decided to secretly cooperate, planning to avoid saying a single bad word to each other. He instructed her on how to write bad comments on pieces of paper, confirming that she wasn't a betrayer. Next, he chose Zutori by secretly giving her a slip of paper and telling her to write it like Shiho did, instructing her on how to write it. Everything went smoothly. It was unexpected that he controlled the order of entry and exit and calculated everything. When only Kanji and Shiho remained, it was easy to guess that it was a special opportunity given, because the management knew who had registered for the friendship game, so it would be very risky if the traitor volunteered, and Shiho volunteered. The final traitor was none other than Tenji, and the first plan he devised was already part of his calculations. In the final round, when he entered the first room, Yuichi had instructed everyone to cast anti-traitor votes, thinking they were the hunter, but turned out to be the prey. Now that they've found the traitor, it's good, but the game isn't over yet. At this point, he went to the manager and whispered a few things. The management immediately began verifying, and after verification, the manager immediately ended the game and Yuichi finished alone, completing the game to everyone's surprise. This was because Yuichi had written a false accusation in round 7, and he admitted it, so he immediately moved straight to the finish line. Everyone could forgive Tenji for what he did now, but it was nothing compared to his past self. He had done many terrible things, kept that secret, and if it were revealed, we would no longer be friends. His betrayal was even worse than Tenji's. The person who wrote Sibe as the murderer was actually lying. The real murderer was him. According to the investigation manager's background check, he had killed 3 people, and for him, his friends were a cage that kept him clean. He didn't want them to know his true self. But in the next game, his true self would be revealed, and he would go all out. There, he would use the third game to eliminate Manabu and the management. After learning this, everyone went into chaos. He thought, if that's the case, then I don't need friends anymore. He had previously considered friends very important, because his mother had told him so, and even now, he still doesn't understand why. But he still respects those words. He was about to jump when Tenchi stopped him. Tenji couldn't let him go alone. He told Manabu that he had lied in the 3rd round, so he should go along because he and Shiho had never dated, and the reason he wanted to destroy this friendship was to possess someone exclusively, Yuichi. He had always secretly loved her, and to prove this, he immediately raised his glasses intelligently. Flying to kiss sushi. This move I couldn't have predicted. The evidence accepted is that you lied in round 3, and both of you finished through episode 7. In the 3rd game, both of you had to stay in the cave for about 3 days. In the taxi, there was talk about taking your first kiss. But Dewey, actually that's the only way to follow you because only by being with you can Enzi tell you everything, why she betrayed you. And this is the 2nd time you've participated in this game. It happened in middle school. At that time, you had a very close group of friends. They saved up together to start a business, but when Saiho appeared, managing the fund became more difficult, as both of your friends liked Saiho, and he started to get jealous of you, but you tried to explain it to him. The money in this fund remained unchanged until Nam reached high school. The three of them decided to play a game. Divide 3 million yen into 3 separate investments. When the amount reached the target, whoever made the most profit would win. Tansy decided to participate to avoid ruining their friendship. But one day, all three were drawn into the game, and he discovered that one of them owed him over 10 million yen. The other two then played a cruel trick on him, shifting all the debt onto him. 2 days later, he was released on the condition that he wouldn't reveal the game to anyone. He immediately sought revenge to get his savings back, but the other one claimed the money had been given to Chiho. Unable to bear it any longer, he told his father everything. But the next day his father was assassinated. From that day on, he decided to investigate Chiho, but before he got anywhere, he received a warning letter. Therefore, he decided to gamble on this friendship game to expose Chiho's true nature. The 3-day challenge between the two ended. Everyone was taken to a forest, and the third game was friendship hide and seek. Their opponents were 5 other guys. The rules were that each team chose one person and hid them somewhere in the forest. The members would search for them. Whoever found the hiding person in the opposing team first would win. The rules of this game were, the two teams couldn't fight, couldn't move, the hiding person could eat, drink, communicate, surrender, and switch sides. If a team was about to lose, the seeker could switch to the opposing team. However, even if they switched to win, it was the same as losing, as they couldn't participate in the 4th game. But if the winning team's debt wasn't cleared because they hadn't completed the game, it would be transferred to the losing team. If one of the 2 guys switched to the other team, the game would end. Then, the group was informed that someone from another group had arrived alone on Tuesday and asked if they were okay with it because it was a beautiful girl. They immediately accepted, and this girl was Meizu Maria, as seen in episode 8. The game started, and the forest was filled with cameras. Anyone who violated the rules would be fined double their debt and lose immediately. In the middle of the forest, there was a food supply depot where they could resupply each other. Yuichi had Maria guard the forest. The other guy, whose name was Yuichi, went to a small cave. In this game, with 3 people, playing fair would only lead to defeat, but playing dirty would give them a chance. He told Tenji something important. No matter what he did, Tenji had to wait and wait. As long as he didn't press the quit button, the 2 of them could win. That's the point of placing absolute hope in this game. Yuichi wouldn't give up because his goal was to avenge his father. 2 days had passed without any sign of him returning. Because he was so hungry, many negative thoughts flooded his mind, and he considered giving up. Luckily, he woke up. He remembered that before the game started, the manager had given each person a phone to contact each other. He tried to contact Yuichi, but it was always busy. A little later, Yuichi called. He called him again, but the person talking wasn't Juchi, but someone from the other team. He said that Juchi had decided to abandon him, and now Juchi was fooling around with that other girl. He advised, if you can't bear it, you can give up. The call ended, his heart felt numb, his pain was excruciating. He could only scream in hunger and hope that Juchi would come. The film takes us back to the first day after the game started. This is the opposing team of Juchi's group. This young man is the team leader, named Do-Do. And here are the 2 Kotaros, a hot-tempered and gangster-like leader of the group. And here is Chisato, the group's male god, a master of flirting, but no one can replace him. The youngest but most dangerous, handsome, cold-blooded, and sharpshooting Ho. The team leader will now devise a strategy. Follow the supply person from the other team, track him to his hiding place, and capture him. These 2 are the fastest runners in the group, so they will both go to the food storage area. These 2 will find a place for the team leader to return to the present. Kanji was so hungry he was hallucinating. While maintaining his composure, he actually went to a food and sleep station. In episode 9, he made a request to the K group. He wanted to switch to the K4 group. They were really racking their brains over this idea. They decided to contact the captain to ask for his opinion, and he burst out laughing when the 4 of them made such a simple decision themselves. The captain accepted his request, then teased the 4, causing the young man with the blood gun to get ready to attack him. However, a trap prevented them from attacking the other team, as attacking would result in a loss. But after contacting the captain, he refused, even though the captain didn't need to maintain his composure, and the team was sure to win because the captain was hiding at the bottom of society. Surely no one could find him. However, this refusal to switch teams was part of their plan. Returning to the beginning of the game, on Yuichi's side, he told Maria that he wouldn't do anything for the group for the next 2 days, thinking he had no intention of fighting. On the third day, he would switch teams. Not to give up, but for the sake of victory. He would risk everything to win this game, and if he succeeded in switching teams, he would find the hiding place and tell her. He also knew the group would definitely use a strategy of tailing the food delivery person. If the switch failed, he would talk to the other team and provoke them to find something, but by the time he found it, it seemed like Tenji on this side would be dead. The next day, he asked about the group's soccer team, thinking they must be amazing, but that was just a casual remark. The real question he wanted to ask the 2 girls was, why was he stuck in the friendship game? Who owed the debt among the 5 people? But just as he was about to answer, Sato appeared and stopped him, telling him to switch places before he accidentally blurted it out. When the 2 girls went to Maria's place to keep watch, they couldn't find her. He quickly ran to look for her. Seeing Maria changing clothes and being a virgin who had never experienced a woman before, when he saw her body, he became as hard as a lamppost. But because it was his first time seeing her, he was too aroused and didn't know what to do, so he immediately ran away. While both of them were confused, Yuichi had found what he needed. He immediately signaled Maria and they fled. Just as they were about to be caught, Yuichi pushed Maria down the ravine towards Tandi. Now he just had to wait for death to come and take him to his father's place. In his final moments, he would still trust Yuichi. His life as an intellectual man ended here. But at this moment, drops of water flowed into his mouth. In his hazy state, he heard Ruchi's voice and immediately woke up. He had lost faith in many people, and why didn't Yuichi tell Tenji about this strategy sooner? It was because Yuichi wanted to test him to see if he would press the surrender button when in trouble. But instead, Yuichi risked his life to keep his promise and didn't press the button. This made Yuichi very happy that Tenji, it was a complete lie, and from now on, you two can trust each other completely. Your return here means the plan is half successful. You told Maria that her mission was to act as bait, and pushing her down was part of the plan to shake them off and successfully return. As for Somalia, is it considered despicable? No. This playground belongs to them. Maria is under the management of the game, so she can't be a nuisance in their territory. Just hold one person back, just one person, and the other will surely stop. Your calculations were so precise that in the first 3 days, you weren't just sitting around playing to torture Tenshi's hunger, but observing the personalities and relationships within the group. You used all sorts of tricks, like teasing them playfully, and you found the perfect target to finish this whole thing, Kutaro. You know that guy is a two-faced guy who wants to get down to business anytime, but deep down he's very soft-hearted and full of hidden desires. Because he's a virgin, he's very kind to girls. Since she's the one he's looking for, pushing Maria down will definitely save her. If he misses, I don't know what will happen. Now that Panji's hunger is satisfied, he'll do one last thing to win: destroy the friendship of the K group. In episode 10, his first target is the sweet trap. She thanked the 2 guys very sweetly, softening their hearts. On the way back, she didn't forget to feign a sore leg so she could carry them. At this point, when the group is all together, Yuji appears. He puts his arm around Maria's shoulder and speaks in a tone like a master speaking to a slave. This infuriates the 2 Kutaros. Although Chico pulls Maria down, her goal is to make Kiet furious enough to punch him, so his team will win and his actions towards Maria are legal because teammates are allowed to be violent with each other. Then the 2 Kutaros come up with an idea. They want Maria on their team. But Chico Sato comes and tells him to reconsider, saying it could be a trap. He says, "How can these women believe that? I've been through so much fire, I'm experienced." That's really something. The 2 girls immediately went crazy and were ready to beat Chiato up. If he dared say anything more to that hot girl that he had so hard to find on the other side, Kay and the 2 girls would go together to ask the team leader for advice. After returning, they would unfortunately find that the guy with the squinty eyes wouldn't let Maria switch teams. So the two girls would decide to switch to Team C, Yuichi's team, to beat him up. But he said, "I'll only let you fight when you're on the other team. Not here, okay? It's like the fish, you close your eyes, jump straight into your own trap." Now all they need to do is listen to the two girls tell him where the team leader is, but unfortunately, even the two girls themselves don't know where the team leader is hiding. Now Yuichi is in the role of the prey, thinking he's the hunter, while the two girls switch sides was all part of Kei's plan. As for what happened that morning when the two girls and Kei went to meet the team leader, Kei received a call telling them both to turn back because they were suspecting that Team C was plotting something. He had no choice but to contact the team leader and call him. He was very surprised to learn that the real leader of Team K was controlling every move of the team. Luckily, he discovered it early and wouldn't fall into the trap again. But standing here, he had already fallen into the trap set by the two Kutaros. They thought he was a delicious grenade, but in reality, he was a grenade. Why a grenade is easy to understand. If the two Kutaros were in Team C and attacked a member of Team C would immediately lose. That's why he tied the young man up like this. But by tying him up, the two Kutaros were now a time bomb. Just one mistake, and if the other team found and untied him, the bomb would explode. At this point, the two members of Team C had already found him. The next day, Maria had lost interest and left. But on the way, she met the guy. He knew Maria belonged to the management board, and now he asked her if she wanted to betray Yuichi, because betrayal, she would witness firsthand how an arrogant, scheming man could become a pathetic weakling. Hearing this, she found it incredibly amusing. At this moment, Maria called Yuichi and asked for the location of the fugitive to provide him with some food. Because he trusted her, he gave her the location. Then, at the group's hideout, he was stunned because Maria had betrayed him. By evening, the group had found Tenji. The third game ended here, and the result declared Team C the winner, but they won by faith. The worried team here was none other than Team C. In episode 11, why did Team C lose after finding the fugitive? It's simple to understand. The time bomb. When the group left to find Jay's hiding place, even if only he was there, what would he do? He took the two K-type characters hostage, called the man hiding on the other side, and told him to give up. If he didn't, he would punch the two K-type characters until they pressed the sustain button, then continuously punch them. But he's a tough guy, still very resilient, because now it's just a matter of time. He doesn't beat around the bush like Hai Fong. He knows these guys are basketball players, so he told the leader of the other group that they shouldn't surrender, otherwise he'll keep breaking the fingers of that Kutaro guy. He can't let Kutaro get hurt like that. The older brother trembled. No matter how cool he looks on the outside, no one would be so heartless towards their teammates. Tears fell from his eyes. The game ended, and to figure this out better, we need to understand who owes the debt, and both the group and the game in Group K. He tried to gather information whenever he had the chance. But these three guys aren't just ordinary guys. They're all cunning young masters. So the last one is Trongdu's team, and taking this captain to hide is really an easy lock to break for the thief Dewey. When he talked to Kutaro, he understood a little information from him. He's always willing to risk his life for everyone, but he doesn't know how to handle it when his teammates get injured because of him. The reason Dew brought the whole group here to participate in the game isn't entirely blameworthy, as his family's business failed, leaving him heavily in debt. He was about to throw away his future to take on extra work, but he wanted to participate in the final tournament with everyone. So, Kei said he would help him pay off his debts by bringing the whole group here. Even though he later lunged to punch Dew, the two Kutaros stopped him. He wasn't injured by Dew, but Yuichi broke his own arm. The game ended, and Kei didn't accept this. Kei was then sold into the richest butt for daring to raise his voice when they had already lost. Those guys wearing glasses are all dangerous and unpredictable. But in this game he was sold for free, silent from beginning to end, yet understood the moves from start to finish. Yuichi has also changed. If it were him when he was younger, the two Kutaros would probably be crippled. Because they've passed the third level, they're temporarily safe. They were allowed outside to breathe fresh air and were absolutely forbidden to reveal this information to anyone, and they shouldn't even think about escaping. As soon as they were released, they rushed to find Shiho, but upon arriving at class, they only saw Rutoize trying to wipe away the angry words scolding Shiho and Cyber for stealing the fund money. Then she disappeared. Returning to the scene after their release, the three of them went to school, behaving normally and cheerfully as usual. However, upon entering the classroom, they were met with stunned stares and angry faces directed at them. Cyber stood up and resolved the situation by offering to use his own money to compensate for the loss. 2 days later, Cyber and his father were arrested. It seems Cyber had told his father about the game. He returned to class, apologized to everyone for not having money, and for bullying them. Cyber's girlfriend was assassinated that day. Cyber was kidnapped for no apparent reason. On the way, Dutori approached them and asked about what had happened, but Cyber ignored her and spoke ill of her. The situation was terrible, and they maintained their declaration that even though Toshi was now a stranger to them, and because they wanted what was best for her and didn't want to push her into this trouble, that evening, the two of them discussed asking the manager to take on the debt for Toshi. Then a phone call came in, saying Toshi had been kidnapped. He told Duchi to come to this place and endure torture, otherwise, Duchi would have to suffer in episode 12. To save his friend, he had to go there alone and participate in a game of physical pain. If he passed, they would be released. In this unlicensed game, they would let Toshi choose. Either he or Duichi would get punched. This time, both had to remain silent, and the chosen one to punch was this tall, dark, and smelly guy. If Toshi took one punch from this guy, he would probably faint. The situation was becoming tense, as they didn't know who to choose. At this moment, Duichi kicked hard to let her know she should choose him, and Duichi immediately took 3 punches. He noticed that the teacher's beating at the beginning of the session was lighter than that of the captain. The next challenge they presented was to remove Super Dai's fingernails. She decided to choose this, but being a girl, even a slight push caused her to scream in excruciating pain. Then, Duichi offered her hand for him to remove all 5 fingers, and finally, if she chose him, she would let him play with a knife. If Duichi chose her best friend, she would strip naked and dance. So, once again, he stood up to protect her. The kidnapper immediately stabbed him in the hand with a knife, ending their game. They could go home, but why would they? He wasn't angry at Duichi because he knew it was just a game the kidnappers used. He then urged Duichi to go home, saying that staying would mean witnessing many terrifying things, but she remained. At this point, he suggested playing another game with the kidnapper, with a reward of 10 million yen in cash for the winner. Rock, paper, scissors. If the other guy won, he would... The bet was 10 million yen, but if he lost, he'd give him his finger. He didn't dare play, so the other guy said he'd give 1 million yen to each of them if they won. Everyone was excited, but this time, the guy with the white hair lost. Needless to say, he knew the other guy's hand only held rock and paper, so he was sure to choose paper by default. Knowing this early on, the other guy chose rock, paper, scissors. When the game started, he immediately used paper, but the other guy's left hand held scissors. He made a fatal mistake. He forgot that Duichi was forbidden to use his left hand. He refused to accept this and ordered his accomplices to attack the other guy. Luckily, the people from the original game management department caught them red-handed. They knew their location thanks to the guy's name, as the other guy had a bad feeling about this from the beginning. Now that he's lost, he'll just have to go play. While choosing which of his to cut, he remembered a new game. The other guy asked him to choose one of the guys in the group to take his place. He immediately started yelling and cursing at the whole group, but none of them would step forward. This country has revealed its brainless and cowardly nature, and its tendency to easily betray its teammates. The Tomodachi game manager asked all his accomplices if they wanted to go with him after this, and she received a defiant reply. There's a belt. After this incident, Dewey fainted from excessive blood loss. Maria was also present and reminded them that there was a friend who needed saving, Cyber. Participating in the next game would save Cyber, but participants would have to shoulder a debt of $500 million because C-Bank was heavily indebted due to his father's death. Despite fainting, Dewey still tried to stay awake and said that he absolutely had to play. The most important thing for him now wasn't money, but friends, to continue his friend's faith. The fourth game featured two people named Dewey and Zoo, called Friend's Trial. Thus, the Tomodachi game season ended.